you can take a
Yeah,
start.
that's right, he did tell us that he was gonna be going. Forgot about that.
Well, I didn't pay attention. It's the first one.
You can't do that all.
I think this is bigger. Other than a light coming on.
Yeah, right in there, yeah.
There's light coming on that one?
Yep, there it is.
Okay.
Scoot this one.
Then because I've got one of those projectile ones. I don't know what to do about that. You want to be quiet? Just honest. The pledge of prayer. Pledge of prayer. You want to do prayer, you want to do pledge?
Always.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Well, I have to have somebody take minutes since he's not here. And, Travis, can you take minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. Well, 7 bells. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Would you please stand? We'll start with the pledge of flag with Vernon Day. Jeff Sauer is going to follow with a prayer. Please remove your hats.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father who art in heaven, thou who art God over the land and sea and sky and all that is contained therein, we come ever praising you. We thank you for this beautiful day that you've blessed us with. We thank you for all the many blessings, our homes, our families, and friends, that you continue to shower upon us daily. Ask you please be with us as we enter in upon this meeting tonight. Please guide our thoughts, guide our words, and help us as we attempt to do your will and to do what is best for our community. Ask you please be with those who are sick, especially those of our friends and family. Be with those hands that are ministering to them. Help them to get better soon. Also, we ask that you please keep us safe as we travel from the roads when we depart from this place. Forgive us of all our many sins and all these favors and blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I've asked, we usually have secretary go ahead and give roll call, but I'll give roll call. Travis Elliott will be conducting minutes on that. Jeff Souter.
Here.
Philip Marshall.
Here.
Herman Day.
Present.
Adam DeFore, not present. David Hoare, present. Jim Day. Here. Danielle Walker.
Here.
Scott Conlon.
Here.
And newly seated Jerry McCrowell. Okay, we have a quorum. We only have one absent. Adam DeFore. Tom Cyphers, our lawyer, is not here, legal counsel. I guess I ought to call him legal counsel. Lawyers use sometimes in vain. And that's, anyway. Minutes have been sent out in that. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were sent out by email? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept as written. Jim Day, second by Philip Marshall. It's open for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor of taking the minutes in, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carried. We'll use this copy for the record. Jerry, I don't have y'all do have your name on there. I'm just going to give the signature page out for that. All right. Well, that's going around. We'll start business. I'd like to try to make best use of everybody's time possible. Old business, we're reviewing and discussing the land use ordinance. And we had 4 examples, and I think we have 3 different scenarios on each 4 of them. With that, we have kind of identified some things that we liked and disliked about them. And I mean, does anybody have any more questions or observations after they have reviewed it? One thing we were working on was odor categories. And we had identified that we had, I think, 4 different categories, Danielle, that we were looking at in the score sheet.
All right, existing land use, section density, separation from house or public use facility, church, and then the homestead award, odor abatement, and then the IDEM violation. But that was just taking away points,
That was taken away from us.
if they'd had one, so it really didn't.
And if I remember right in our notes here, is that we talked about, maybe having the odor abatements maybe as a bonus. And we had pros and cons to that, if I remember right. Is that? One thing that really concerns me as we look at this is that our scoring is pretty harsh. Taking, for example, the first one that you've got here, that shows the 4 barns. Knowing the physical aspects of that barn, you don't have them. Knowing the physical aspects of where that barn is, that's probably what I would classify as a prime location.
Say it again, Dave. Like you're on farm 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need-
What was your thinking?
It is probably a prime location, but as it scores, it just barely meets the mark. See, you have to have 222 points to score. And the first level that we've got, it reached 220, which was close. The same on the second criteria, and it did meet on first. So that farm, it didn't reach on the 2 of those, but the third one it did. And the third one was weighted more heavily
Made it on 2 to 4.
made of one. Yeah, that's 2 points. want to have a fair score of, you know, this farm was picked out because it's probably in a pretty good location with quite a bit set aside, pretty well managed farm, you know, kind of well thought out as far as the process. So it scored on one. Let's go to the second one. That's farm number 2. And this is basically a hub farm. This is a CAFO operation. As you look at that, one thing that hurts it probably the most is that the homestead exemption, the homestead award. It only scores a 40. On one. $50, the 70, or 55. So even if they did, they'd have to have huge setbacks to be able to. And this farm has a minimum setback of 750. And that's what we said would be the minimum setback on a CAFO. A CFO, we were talking 600 feet, 400 feet on an AFO. Okay.
I talked to somebody from there today
Yes,
and asked them about odor abatement,
yes,
and they have planted trees.
all right.
Now, I don't know if they meet any specific qualifications, you know, for like NRCS, shelter belt construction. But if we counted trees, that might have been a,
But even if they had the level 1, it'd be 80, that'd be 150, they'd still be short. That would tell you that that farm would have to move further away than the minimum, which could be what we want.
I think everybody knows that process as well.
Yeah. Okay, but understand, you know, as we look at these farms, if you think that you know where they're at and stuff, and this is a corporation farm, I don't have any problem saying that this is Far Vesta's new farm. It's out there on South Tillow Road, and then it's right by Lauren Zink's house is the closest house. The house that's across the road was Henry Holland's house. They bought it purposely so that they could not have to be set back to that house. So they bought that house purposely for that. And so you can't say that you give a homestead, homestead award in it, because corporation, if they put an employee in that, it's not really like the owner.
There's another house to the west of that, and I don't know what the distance is from that house.
The west, it's beyond the 750, and that's Kathy Green's, and, Roger Green's.
Well, there's also one home back there by Brian Moyer. It's back Roger Green Road.
This is a CAFO. This is your largest unit. And it is basically a federally regulated farm, not only state, but it has a federal regulation.
There's a green line around it, then the farm size itself.
Green line is that section.
That is the 1/2 mile.
Is the 1/2 mile.
And do they own that whole section?
No.
No,
They own 30 acres.
30 acres is all they own.
We were just looking at the green versus the pink, which pink is really hard to see, but pink would be like the section in which it falls, but then the green is the section 1/2 mile all the way around it.
And
So
I
they
guess
could-
what we're looking at these
How do
things,
we
the
define
green
it?
line is what we're looking at.
Yeah, we've decided.
That's really good. That's, I don't know, that's right. This is the large houses.
Okay? Now, farm 3. This is not, you can take that way that farm is, I think this is right, and it needs to be turned perpendicular to it.
Yeah, when Carrie Keller Steele did these maps for us, they were not on the GIS that she used yet. They had not been put on there, so.
The red dot that's closest to South Conway Road is not a residence, it's an address.
Mhm.
Now you can see in that half mile, you look down this Mount St. Zion and Church Road,
Mhm.
you start getting several dots down through there. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
I have that there's 40.
20, 40.
And 43 is in the green.
And section density is houses, not people, houses.
And if we went with the pink on that one, it would have been 29 homes.
Okay? So it was given 10 points.
60.
All right? That score's low on that. The only thing is, if you take a look at that farm, find what would be eligible for an odor abatement is woods. That's in the corner of that farm. It would probably maybe get a 2 or even a 1. We gave it a 1 here in the scoring because of the woods. And as prevailing winds go, that would, yeah, that's more. Okay. Any thoughts on that?
This is 160.
Yeah.
That's mostly tillable ground all the way around that, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. I think that's an 80-acre field that you see within that. And I'd say that probably about 65 acres is tillable. That woods is probably 15, 20 acres.
Do they have more plans to build more houses there? Normally, most of them don't use just one very long.
They got 2. It shows one in here for the drawings, but
They've already got 2.
Yeah, the only reason that white line is in there is just because when Carrie Keller Steele went to the GIS website, they hadn't updated it to put the buildings already in.
The buildings weren't there.
The buildings weren't there when the picture was taken.
Are there buildings there now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't been
There's
out
two.
by
Well,
it.
they do.
Yeah.
Like this.
How many
to our,
buildings are like this, would be cost like that. I think if you want to think about some dimensions here, the dimensions of that is, it's 807 feet to the, road, 807 feet to the fence that's to the north. The line, it's 807 feet there. Now this particular farm is, we talked about, are we still at 200 setback on there, or are we back to 100 on the road? 200? 200 from the, okay. I know that's closer than 200 feet. I think it's about 150 feet.
Which one have you seen, Dave? South Conway?
What do you need?
I was saying 150 feet.
Right here, honestly, just like this.
Okay.
this is gonna turn off so they got line again.
And so it's about 150 feet from that road.
Sorry, but that's what I was getting in.
Well, yeah, I think you got to do it there.
Yeah.
You don't have any houses directly across, but is they on the other side of the road?
No,
They bought the big years.
now you can see in this map, whenever we do that half-mile square, that like 160 with that road frontage in there, how many houses you have? Because that's more densely populated. Okay, let's go to number farm 4. I'll give you a description of this. This farm's probably 100 feet off the road. And then, pretty major road that goes past it, West Washington School. See at the front, go across, come down the side, go across the front, and down the other side. Very visible. And the aspects of this farm is that it's had some controversy, because it can be seen from a lot of different directions. Closest house, they do have a homestead because they do live on that farm, which is the dot that would be just southeast of the farm. They do not own the land across the road, which is the next closest house. So,
Now, is that woods on the side of it too?
no,
That dark?
no, that's pasture on all sides of it. You won't get into a woods, you can get into a woods on the other side of the lane. On the east side of the gravel lane that goes back to the house, that is the woods there. But that's a different landowner there, they don't know the woods. Okay? See how it scores. 155, they get a homestead award, which is pretty important to these point systems. So what was it, we only had the first farm that actually made it?
Yep. Only under one scenario.
Yeah. Only one.
Mhm.
Any thoughts? These aren't set in stone. These are just examples, you know, that we pulled off of the original drafts, you know, of the farmstead. We took some of the, as far as back in August of 2011, we took the criteria that we pulled certain things out and made them mandatory that they had to have. One of them was water that was pulled out of there. And then we made some mandatory things they had to do, but these are the ones that basically were on the score system.
Within the half-mile dimension there's another facility. Am I wrong? Down in the lower left quadrant?
Looks like there is.
Yes.
Look at it.
Yes, there is.
Oh, it's on Rosebud Road.
Now, would that have a bearing on, in our consideration, if there was already another facility existing there? Because that's going to increase the density of the number of animals that are in that given half mile. Because if you do a half mile within that includes the other facility.
Correct.
So should there be some negative adjustment because of the concentration of animal facilities there, or not? But I'm thinking out
Well,
loud, I'm asking the question.
Yeah. You know, and I understand your feelings on that, because that would basically put it classified, if you were put, even though they're a different ownership, that would put it in the same classification as a, well, to the extent of almost a Cape Run, even though they're not operating.
Yeah, but aren't you gonna get into the same on people out where the first is when you have best vision, and then from that point on, the rest of everybody else is gonna become licensed?
That could very well happen. And if, you know, to take another scenario with that, if you were to take a look, because there's another barn, a set of barns on South Rosebud Lane that you see right there, and if you start drawing those squares around there, you'll pick up, and it even becomes, there's another set of barns that sits right here too, on the next row, 3 barns.
On South Road, on the,
On south.
South of Rosebud.
Yeah, there's another set of barns that are right here.
what's this right here?
That's a set of barns, turkey barns there.
Are these turkey?
Yes. All of those are turkeys. 2 of those are Farvest and 1 of them Purdue.
I mean, this is just an example, we're not gonna change anything here because these are pre-existing. And, but,
Well, you know, the thing about it, what happened, or as we go through, as we talk about this, and this is a good discussion, is that whenever we try to put a criteria as far as density and stuff, I think you could take it in effect, you know, you could make a concentration of animals kind of go to a specific area. You know, I don't know if that's really what we want, is an area that's all you see is buildings all the way around. I think it's actually in our best interest is to have a little bit of spread, you know, especially for production methods. The spread works best for, you know, area far as diseases and that type of stuff that could in between barns. The barn's just for animal health.
Well, it appears that these three here, if you say there's another one to the south, they're all within a half-mile radius.
Then you can go on down here, about another quarter of a mile, and there's 3 more. It's in Howard Township. That's probably our most heavily concentrated area where there's concentration of poultry.
And then you look at the concentration of houses or residences that are there, and it's fairly high in that Rosebud area.
Yeah,
Food for thought.
yeah.
Are these group and these group and this group and this group and this group, are they all in part of the same family?
2 sets. One that you see right here, that's got the white buildings here, and the one that would be down here would be of the same family. These are 2 different operations, 2 different families. What do you think, Jim?
Does either one of them others have homesteads there? Didn't show it on the map.
Now,
Yeah.
the one on South Rosebud does not. And the one that would be down in your white border
Yeah.
here does not. This one here's got homestead, and the one on Rosebud Road, right there at that corner, has got a residence.
Okay, are we back, is this ground here classified as prime farmland like we was talking about, or descriptions of farmlands?
It is tillable. It's described as tillable.
It's in Howard Township, so you know what the soil is there.
Yeah, it's tillable, it's rocky, but it's tillable. It's not been, none of these would be classified, well, I don't know, would that one be a pasture?
I don't know which one it is, that's what you know for.
Yeah, I'd say the one right there at the corner would be classified pasture. And I know the other ones went on cropland. You know, if we take a look at the farm number 4, you know, we got concentration going on there. If they were to use odor abatements in the, even at the level, they would have to use the maximum odor abatement, the max. And realistically, you know, thinking about the physical aspects, that's what that farm needs, is maximum odor abatement. It really needs tree lines. You know, it needs some green filter.
In reality, all those are existing now.
Right.
And if someone comes along and wants to put 3 houses within another half mile of there, which is possible, grounds configured so that might happen, then are they going to be forced to use the maximum odor abatements simply because there are other houses in that area? And some of the others may not be using any odor abatements at all.
Well, right now, we don't have any criteria
Exactly.
for the, we don't have any criteria for the buildings, you know, because the only thing that we've been working with that half mile is talk about residences. Residences only. But like you said, if you start talking about that half mile, start getting increased concentrations, you know, in there, then you're really building that load up. And that's a real possibility here.
Is the Amish got a school there too?
Yep.
That's what I was thinking, there's a school out there close to that too.
School is just, it's outside of
It's
the,
outside that line.
yeah, but it would not be on the outside of the other two barns. The other two farms there.
And the radius we talked about away from the school,
Yes, but it has to be a public school.
or you're not counting the Amish schools as public.
The ordinance that's in there right now that we've been looking at deals only with public schools. Okay? That's the way we have defined it.
A building or set of buildings where students K through 12 are enrolled and served by the local school districts and are funded with tax dollars.
Now, that Amish school is, their structure is pretty basic. Let's turn the page a little bit. You get over on 500 Hardinsburg Road, and the Mennonites have got a church and school there that's not so basic and is quite an elaborate facility, and more students probably. So,
Okay, what's our,
Well, that would be considered a public use facility, right? Where we would have any congregation, it says any facility located upon land,
okay,
which is to attract the public and allow them to congregate for significant periods of time. Does that sound like that's what?
yeah,
And our public use facilities are just the same setbacks as a home or residence right now.
in church, a building with an active congregation devoted to worship. All right, go back into our ordinance in here and see what our setbacks are on specific definition. Did I pick that up yet?
Yeah.
I know there's one on schools in here. All right, well, the only thing we've done on the church says, right now, it's the CFOs, you know, which I think we need to change that term. In 701.2, we've got a development standard for CFOs. I think we need to change that to AFO, because that's where we start.
Yeah.
We'll have to change our definition on that.
But right now, off-site residence, public use facilities, and churches are all the same.
Yeah, church is the same as residential. And an AFO is 400 feet. Now, that doesn't say that you could take church and identify it separately.
oh yeah, I used to stop along.
Oh, yeah. Then schools is 3,960 feet.
How much?
3,960 feet.
Sorry.
All right. to straw poll this. Jeff, your thoughts in there on, is looking at these different criteria. Do you see these being adequate, too strong, or too weak?
My personal opinion is that they are too strong, but not by much.
Okay,
I would say, there's a certain segment of our constituents that want to halt all construction whatsoever. Then there's a certain other set of constituents that want to leave things just the way they are and the density going as it is. Phil made a good point that, sometimes in a certain situation, the first one in there gets the best of the pickings, and then the second person in there is going to have to deal with the scraps or offal or whatever that was put in there. Well, that's the way we're dealing with it now.
right.
First person in gets the best of the pickings, and the second person or third person's in are going to get the scraps. I think a set of criteria needs to be set up so that, and it's a board decision, I'm only one person, but somewhere between, if you take a random sampling of the farms that are currently in existence, somewhere between, I would say between 1/3 and 2/3. You can pick the halfway point, pick 50%. 50% of the grandfathered ones in would fit the criteria, 50% might not fit the criteria. Yes, it's going to slow up, but it's definitely not going to stop anybody wanting to do agriculture.
Okay, Phil? Thoughts? I'm just trying to have an open conversation here to get everybody's thoughts.
Well, basically, the way I see it, we got 30 confinement houses in Howard Township. Right now is what I counted up. And like I said before, whoever the first one is, and it looks like Howard Township is probably the number one as far as open buildings. I also heard something this week that Harback is cutting back probably 2 crops on a year, what's that going to do? But then on the other hand, when we look at the situation of the buildings being built, I think we've got to go back. When the commissioners was asking, and like I said, odor was the #1 issue that we had concern with, and making it where we wasn't shoving down the neighbors' throat that didn't have bulk. Well, one deserves to make money if they own the ground, but the others don't want to smell it. And finding to have a medium, I know it's not an easy subject. In certain areas, West Washington is more ag out there than what we are in Jackson Township down there. Who knows what 10 years is going to bring? And I know the ordinance will change as time goes on. We've got to find a common thread, and we work with wooded area, homestead, for the people that are doing it, for the protection on that side. I know it's a catch-22, and finding a common thread or a common bond that we can work with. I'm definitely seeing it. It's not easy, but it's got to be a industry that we can use to make it fair. But like I said, when the first guy goes into an area, like Howard, you're already loaded with 30 out there in that area. And Jackson hasn't got it yet, maybe 3, that's Pierce. West End, we're getting 4 down there. But that's in the rural area. But that can move right on up. And if it does, prevailing wind's gonna blow everything towards residential. I know I haven't said nothing.
Herbert,
I don't think it's too strong. I don't know that, I think what we're doing by doing this, we're not keeping anyone from building. We're just saying that they're going to qualify, they're going to have to make, or have additional considerations for odor control. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It costs money to do that. And so whoever is going to invest in one of the projects now are probably going to have to spend more money than what they intend to spend, which makes financing a deeper consideration. And, but it still concerns me whenever you've got the kind of density that we've got in this one application here, and you could get an even greater concentration, then I'm pretty sure we're not too strong on it at that point. So I have some concerns about it, but we're gonna have to take steps at some point that everyone's not gonna like, and growers are not gonna like, and the companies may not like either, but still, we've got to maintain a livable community for as many people as possible.
Scott?
Well, I'm just looking back through here, you know, of these four scenarios, if all four of them do the maximum odor limit, we're still looking at two of them. I like what we're doing as far as what we're using for points, with the categories. And I personally think we need to lower that from 222 to a lower number. I don't know what that number is, but I think, you know, I think that number needs to be a little lower. Because I agree with everyone. You know, there's nothing wrong with people that are on the border, you know, just make them do the odor rating thing, you know, that's just good management. And most people are probably gonna do it anyway. So, I just feel like we're gonna have to lower this points.
Jerry, I know you're new on the block.
Really? But I agree with everybody has a point, and I think, and if you make it for the new guy coming, what about the guy that's grandfathered in, or the old guy that hasn't done anything, is he gonna have to upgrade?
We don't have any jurisdiction on him at all. Jurisdiction, no.
So it'll just be for the new guy coming
Yeah.
forward.
Exactly.
That's the reason they was coming to Horse County Fest.
There you go. So, I could be up to him whether he builds or not. So, that's about all I know.
Okay. Jim?
Well, I'm like Scott, I think we need to lower that down now. I've run it over by time or two, about 200 as a minimum for the low points to get in. But I still think we've got to keep around the buildings, we've got to have trees or something to put around there to help with the odor.
My thoughts are is that we're right to that edge of points of tripping, you know, that being too strict or not strict enough, or, you know, or right there, you know, within that 20 points that we're talking about. You know, it would be at 220 or 200. But I do think that it does one thing up there. For most of these to make it, they've got to do some odor abatement program. You know, and that's a criteria that I think that is not only palatable to the industry itself, but also to the residences around in the other public. I think it does twofold. I think it gives the people a concentration of best management practices and being aware of their neighbors and their concerns. And then it also shows on the other side, fence of residences, that there's some criteria have been done to try to alleviate the impact of odors on it.
Has anybody done any studies whether odor abatement practices have a benefit regarding the transfer of disease from one facility to another facility?
Well, the only thing that I have on that is that there was a epidemic, there was a, like Carroll in Clinton County, where there's high concentration of fogs, there was a viral disease that could be transmitted between homes. And then they found out that it was an airborne virus. And it was transporting between farm to farm in there. So they did a lot of research on biofilters. It wasn't so much in trees to speak of, but they were putting exhaust fans blowing into straw mats, and those type of filters. And it was also a reduction of odor too. Your ammonia, your methanes, your hydrogen sulfides, all were reduced down in particles too, blowing into these straw mats. I do know of several farms that have perimeters around their buildings in there that have tall shrubs that fill in all the gaps. I don't know what the particular trees are, but they're usually a tall shrub type, like a cedar type mass that would open up and would be green even during the winter time. I think that's an important consideration whenever you talk about a perimeter around these, that they need to be green all winter too. Because you're going to have as much of an impact in the wintertime with odor moving as what you are even in the summertime with these buildings being power ventilated. So Danielle checked out with some, while we're on that, talking about that, this thing right here you got is from Iowa. It's got some different odor abatement type of things here. I don't know if you got that up on the screen or not.
I doubt I can get that on the screen. I didn't plan ahead enough
Okay.
to do that. Sorry.
All right, but you take a look at these. They got liquid manure and dry manure, split out as far as some different things. Let's see. Might have to help me out.
Sorry, I'm looking for my.
Most of them are not going to be liquid, they're going to be dry.
Right.
Right.
Here, Danielle, here's one.
Do you have an extra slide?
Now, hog operations
Dairy,
and
dairy,
dairy and hogs are the main ones that's liquid.
Right.
As far as these dry manure practices and also on, I will tell you from, own use, that composting reduces the odor considerably. Whenever you bring it out of the buildings, whether you're spraying raw manure right out of the building,
It's a lot stronger than
is a lot stronger than composted manure. So composting does two things. It gives a housing and proper application of the fields, which we can't monitor or do anything. That's an item of control. But it also reduces that odor impact when it is spread. Even though we can't, this is a practice that helps out on that end. So we could give points, for this practice alone will not only help in the facility impact of odor, but also the spreading impact, which we don't have control over of how it's spread in our jurisdiction and what we do. But that one particular item will do two things. Filtration, landscaping, those and barriers, to me, those three could very well be the same thing. Diet manipulation. I mean, to monitor that, I mean, I know there's a lot of additives being added to feed, to reduce down nitrogen levels, phosphorus levels, those type of things. Maintain dry conditions. That has to do with just basically, well, we're not going to be able to control what they do inside the buildings, but this is the best management practice to keep them litter dry.
Now, we're talking about residential families
Yeah,
putting these buildings up. My concern here is corporations.
okay,
You're gonna lose the homestead,
right.
because one may, if they do anything, probably buy a farm, put up so many buildings. What kind of control are you doing there? And then how, the second thing, on your odor abatement, how are we gonna police that?
It has to be in their plan, for their permit.
Okay, but let's just say that Purdue or RPAC buys a 40-acre plot of ground,
Right.
applies for a permit, puts up 4 buildings, sets a mobile home there, puts a family in it to take care of it, and they sell that out. When they sell out, and the new person buys it, are they gonna fall under these laws? Or does the original?
It will, after we get, if this ordinance gets passed, they will have to follow no matter when it's done. But these first ones that's already in won't, but the ones, any new one won't. I think it's set, the way we want to set up is to have it, they would stay restricted with same,
It'll always
no matter who owns it.
It'll be enforced.
Every time it changes hands,
Whoever buys it.
stays the same.
Yeah.
Then what kind of penalty are you gonna consider for the odor abatement?
Well, for one, if they want to expand, and we see them as far as not fulfilling their obligation on the first, I mean, you can put a penalty on.
I'm just asking.
I mean, we can actually stipulate that there's a penalty for not doing this.
Or that, or like you said, if they applied for new permits and they put, hey, we're gonna get that 100 points for abatement. The planning commission say, we got to buy your place, there's no other abatement being taken in effect now, you're not gonna get those points.
Right.
We're not gonna allow you to have the 100 points.
And then that's kind of like the bad actor, that's the bad actor type of thing.
Right.
Hypothetical,
All right,
they build the house, and they put up 4 houses. You drive by, like you said, they're not obeying, the abatement, they're the odor abatement. If they put up another building, do you have the power to stop them from putting up another building? If they contract with RPAC and say to RPAC, we want to put up 2 more houses?
well, I see them as not being in compliance to the first permit.
So are you going to stop RPAC from selling chickens to the next?
I think it stops them from expanding. They can transfer ownership of the farm, and if they apply for permit, I mean, they won't be able to unless you go ahead and abide by the standards that was originally put on. Or you could go in there and, I mean, the process of building this, if they don't do these stipulations, you could put a fine on it for doing it, for not doing it.
That's why I think it should be an ordinance somewhere that you have, if they, when they're building a building, setting up their buildings, they should have, there's this restriction that they have to have that building odor abatement around them buildings in a certain length of time.
Right.
I think it has to be there in our ordinance somewhere or other. We have to have that there. okay, to cover, keep them from not doing the things that we're requiring to be done.
Within
And
the first year after
also-
the building's up.
You know, maybe the fact that they need to keep records, say for example, they're using feed editor. You might, as a neighbor, say, you're not using the feed editor, but maybe they are. And therefore, if they had a record of that from Tyson or whoever it may be,
They're bringing their feet to them, yeah,
to prove
to prove to it.
that would be,
That's-
to me, that would be a protection for the producer as well as.
As neighbors too, yeah. I think that's right. 'Cause I know they're using more and more stuff in the feed now to keep down there.
Code flies, everything like
Yeah.
that.
Can you consider like a conditional use variance kind of thing tied to that with a certificate of occupancy for the birds? If they fail to do that, you pull their certificate to allow birds in the building? Means that they're making a contract with you that we're gonna do this under these conditions, and if they fail to follow those conditions, you can pull the right to have animals in that building until they do.
I don't know, wish we had legal counsel here.
Well, that's a question for you to mull on, David. I think.
Yeah,
Well, as it stands right now, the contractor or whoever's providing the birds and the feed, they're the ones that are controlling the number of birds that go in initially. And of course, that's based upon the size of the building somewhat. But they have requirements as far as the health. If you get too many in there, by then you deplete the health of the birds that are in there. And so I think at some point you have to rely on those companies to control the health of the flock. So,
Well, what I meant was as far as like your tree line and
Yes.
stuff like that, when they say, we're gonna do this, and you can say, okay, well, let's give you a condition, you can put birds in, but it's gotta be done in 6 months. If it's not done after the end of 6 months, we pull your ticket. You can't put animals in there until these trees are planted. This filter system you said you've gotta put in order to qualify is actually installed and whatever, instead of, well, I'll put 2 brackets and I never have to do anything else.
Rhonda?
During a meeting, commissioner meeting, I brought forward that, somebody could build with the pretense of putting turkeys in and then after it's built, put chickens in, right? And Tom Cipher said, then you pull their license. So that is I would say that's a very good possibility that you could actually do that.
I know that in the IDM permit process in there, you have to specify the species that's going in, not only the species, but the size of animals and the capacities for the permit process. I think that certain type of standards is that whenever they're applying or going through this criteria, that we need to identify the species. Now, understanding that a lot of these barns have been retrofitted back and forth between broilers and turkeys. And
Farmbest said, that when they was there one night, stated that there's several people that had poultry right now that was wanting to switch over and put turkeys in.
Right. And the thing about it is that, a lot of those went from 30,000 operations and the chicken that they got a permit, and they went to turkeys and put them underneath that number, okay? Now, with what we're doing with AFOs, that still catches them part of the process. But some of that, deals with, after the fact that the permit's already there, I think that whenever they applied for a permit originally, as far as putting the building up and contacting Travis that they're doing it, that we need to have specified what that animal is going to go in there, because for one, if it's below the 30,000, then it's going to be an AFO, and it's just going to be regulated by what we do. and not by the state. But if it's at 30,000, then it's automatically gonna be stuck in there. But I think we need to, at that point, have it, but I don't know if we have too much control when it switches after. I don't know how much control we have as far as doing it.
My understanding is that if you've had turkeys in here, none of these guys want you to put chickens in. You can go from chickens to turkeys, but you can't go from turkeys to chickens.
That's what I'm.
That's my understanding of their requirements.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What do you want to do? You want to try to lower the points with this, or do you want to take that as a note of maybe lower it to 200? I mean, it's tight right now. I mean, we know that it's tight. You know, we're not trying to make everybody, fit in there, but I think one thing it does in all of these is that they have to address odor abatement. In every one of these, they have to, except for one instance in there, that it hits everything, but all the rest of them have to put odor abatement.
Can we go back? I couldn't find it fast enough.
All right.
But wouldn't, if we have existing buildings that are
Yes.
non-conforming, that's what I'm going to, it says substitution and extension of non-conforming use. So if they wanted to, if they had turkeys already and they didn't conform and they wanted to go to chickens, they could do that as long as it wasn't more objectionable, does not increase, similar non-conforming use is not more objectionable, is operated within the same confines as does not increase parking and traffic. Well, going from turkeys to chickens was going to be more objectionable, can't say that word, and does not fit. So in all cases involving that, the person seeking to substitute or extend shall file a petition with the board. So that covers what we were talking about, correct? If it was a non-conforming, if we're going from turkeys to chickens and chickens.
I think that's the reason for that language.
I think that'd be considered.
All right, let's go back here. I want to go back here to a little bit. How important is Homestead Award to you?
Very important, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so if you do that, that goes into your 1A scenarios in every one of these farms.
I like that 1A is the scoring criteria, I like the best person.
Okay? 1A on all of them. 1A is the same criteria, but the Homestead is the most, weighted pretty heavily.
Everything, all their numbers, all the criteria, everything comes in. I think that's what it is. I think we need to stay here.
Okay? Scenario 1A. We need to take that to a vote, or what do you want, take that by consensus?
Would we rather do 1B since that talks about the half-mile square of the facility where 1A talks about the actual section density? Pink square versus green square?
All right, I see what you're talking about. 1A, if you look in the fine print on where it's got section density, 1A is section, and 1B is actually facility. That's
That's the one, right, I think.
1A is the pink line, 1B is the green line.
right. So 1B, thank you, Danielle. Gotta read the small print a little bit.
Well, I wrote it, so I know it.
All right.
It's a little easy.
Okay, 1B, green. Yeah,
using green lights too.
yeah.
One of these harder to figure out for somebody just going off the street, but it's the way that makes most sense to people once it's explained out.
Because whenever we do a measurement on a facility at the state line, wherever that's gonna be, it's gonna be from the facility. You know, so I think that's the criteria we need to utilize there. Okay? All right, 1B. All right. Now, we're still in question about 220 to 200.
Could we do something, maybe instead of lowering the points to 220 or 200? Tom had talked about one time, like where section density is, we have 0 to 5 gets 50 points and 6 to 10 gets 30 points. Could we make it, those numbers were just assigned, not randomly, I mean, obviously we give the most points the fewer the number of houses, but I mean, is there a cutoff point even before 50 that we would say you're going to get 0 points for that? Or if you have 0 to 5, you get 75 points, and then if you have 6 to 10, you get 50 points, and if you have 11 to 17, then you drop even lower. You know, is there something that we could do there? Or does that make sense? I mean, those numbers.
I don't want to get those numbers too much that it doesn't force us some other
I'm
things.
gonna say, if we're not careful, we'll be back to the same scenario. Either everybody passing or everybody failing. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying that it would encourage,
All right.
because I think it's more about site, I thought we were more about site placement, you know, and that section density is something that really makes a huge impact. If there's 50 people, well, let's see, if there's 23 people that are living in an area, or 23 homes in an area, that's affecting a lot of people.
And the
And you see
17 and a half is the average
Yeah.
in the county. 17 and a half is the average in the county.
So, but I'm just saying, if we're gonna look at lowering that number to 200 or something like that,
So
could we?
what you're saying, if you left it at 220, you might want to go up there to that 0 to 5 and maybe give it 10 more points.
Yeah, because that's really, really where we want people to put stuff, right? If you only have 5 homes within a half-mile radius, or 0 homes within a half-mile radius, you won't need to do much odor abatement, because they're not going to be that, there's not going to be people to smell it, if that's the problem, I guess is where I left it at.
Thoughts? That would take some of the sting out of the, being right there close on that 220 range. I think the 220, I'd rather steer adding points in a direction that we would like for them to move to, as for us to lower points, just to try to accommodate, trying to get more people in.
Well, if you raise it 10 points there on section density,
Yeah,
but then come down to your separation from house. And say a person's got 40 acres or 80 acres or 100 acres, and then you go by the distance of moving his poultry operation to the other side of the farm, getting away, then you could raise his points to there. Am I not right? And that would entice him to move further away from the neighbor. Raise your points
yeah,
on the separation.
yeah, there's a lot of combinations that they could do there.
I mean, if I've got one side, but it's gonna cost me a little more in dosing over here, but I can do it, but I can gain by gaining 300 feet, then that's gonna help me raise my points there. And that's getting further away from the neighbor,
Right.
which I think most cases here in West County, most of those family farms, and I don't see too many farms selling, buying, but it's handed down and what have you, but to make more money for survival. The option of poultry, putting it in, right now is a good trend. And I don't think you want to penalize somebody because your income level needs to be all it can today. But if you can entice him to move from one side of the farm to the other and pick up quite a few points and be worth doing it, that's going to help all the way around. And that cuts farther away from the odor, and then cut back with your tree line, your filter system. So raise your points on the separation of the house and
So you're talking about raising from 40 up to 50, or
I'm saying
each one of those?
raise each one of those 10 on your section density up above.
Make them 10,
On the section density, raise each one of those 10 points.
10 points.
Yeah.
And then what about separation from house, do something
And I
separate?
would come down, do the same thing there, raise it, which you're giving the option to let him figure out if he can move to the other side of the farm, a different place to get further away, to help you there.
Okay. Thoughts?
That's not a bad idea. I mean, just look at this Cape, if you go, they scored 30 points.
If they go with a full strategy on the odor abatement,
And we got, they go up here to the separation and distance themselves, then they can still get in, I guess what I'm trying to say. It's still not, I mean, it's not unattainable. They may have to buy more than 30 acres,
right,
or might have to relocate where they buy that 30 acres.
right. So then, if they were to hit in there, if they were to do a full odor abatement on that, and at 100, that put them at 130. And then if they went ahead and went 1,000 feet more than required for standard, that would be more than double of what the minimum was, then they could do that. So it doesn't keep them, all it does is put them back further away from residences.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, and you know what really hurts that, is because they don't live there.
Right.
There's 100 points.
No, bringing homestead into it.
Yeah,
Bringing homestead into it.
because they're a corporation, you know, they're at zero.
A corporation probably doesn't care. There's where you're gonna worry about your odor and not having control over that odor. And if they can build the building, put it in, there's where I have the fear that he can put it too close to the house. That's where I get into a problem with the 200 feet next to the neighbor. Where the homestead takes that out of play because the person owns there, lives there, talks to their neighbor.
I think that what you're talking about, you know, does a lot of those things, you know, as far as kind of, and that's what we're doing, is good site placement. I really don't think that we're too far off on one beat we could add. You know, odor abatement, you know, we would like for them to maximize their odor abatements. Okay. Is there a group of you who would like to make a motion to maybe increase section density points by 10 in increments, in each one of those? And then,
Even when you get down to 10, 5, and 0,
No.
I think when you get down to 10, 5, you better leave them where we've got them, rather change the top 4 brackets and then leave the rest of them where they're at.
okay, you want to
And
make
that's
that?
I'll make that as a motion.
Okay,
Anything from 23 and less, change those by adding 10
Yes.
points.
okay. All right,
I'd second that.
all right, Scott's made a second, it's open for discussion. Seeing none, Well, go ahead, Phil. That puts you, that moves you toward less dense.
Yeah.
That gains you more points by going to less dense.
If you come down on the
That's
other
what we
side
want,
of the
that's
farm,
what we want.
if you come down the other side of the farm and put more of your distance in, that's gonna do what I'm saying there. So, yeah, the density, I can go along with that.
All right, motion on the floor is to increase the points system by 10. Each column from the 0 to 5 to 60, 6 to 10 to 40, 11 to 17 to 30, 18 to 23 to 25. That's the motion that's on the floor.
That makes 170 total points in that section,
Yeah.
instead of 130 we've got now.
All right.
So we gained 40, you gained 40 points right quick in that section.
No, it doesn't figure that way. You can only get one of those.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, what we're talking about, percentages of the totals, of the total sheet, that's what I was getting at, Jeffrey. The total sheet, we're gaining, we gained a percentage on, and so instead of the 12% we've got there, it's going up to about 18 or 19%, right?
No, you take your 60 out of your total points available, which would be 415.
Your change on that 10.
Yeah, 50 to 60. No, they wanted to, they wanted to benefit this group. They did not want to benefit that group.
That takes you, that would take, the way this was scored in there, it was scored as by your percentages,
Yeah, that's
by
right.
your top figures in each one of those categories.
Oh, okay.
It was not by the total,
Not the total.
but by the top figure. So
Okay.
in other words, when we did that, that made that worth 14.8%. Okay? That moved it from 12% to 14.8.
Okay,
Okay? That's what that did.
okay.
All right, motion on the floor.
Well, but that doesn't change, like if we use Farm 1 as an example, his percentage of the points that he received doesn't change, right? Like if we add 10 points to his total and we add 10 points to the total number of possible points.
Yeah, it does slightly.
Okay.
I still don't
I
think
agree.
that you don't, I don't think that you raised that 222.
I think you leave it alone.
Yes.
I think we leave the 220 alone.
Well, I'd actually, instead of 222, I'd say go to 220.
Yeah, and I don't know why the 2's in there.
I was gonna
I
ask
think
that
it-
question.
I think it's
myself.
supposed-
Why is it two extra
I think
points there?
it's supposed to be 220.
No,
And then-
it was a percentage, like
Yeah.
we had originally when Carrie was here, like it was like 55% or something, yeah.
But if you go to 220 on the scoring system, farm number 1,
220 out of 415.
move
What
to,
you're saying.
move to 220. And they actually qualify without an odor abatement strategy, which, knowing where they're at, if there's a farm that I'm aware of, if that's possible, that's probably one of them.
Yeah.
Whereas you take this farm number 2, that's probably not the scenario.
Right.
Under the odor abatement, it's level 1 strategy, level 2 strategy, level 3 strategy. I've never heard us break that down with
Yeah.
special criteria in each one of those,
Well, we're gonna have to make those criteria.
or, okay.
We really do. We'll have to make those criteria. And this is a good sheet to work with. to do that. All right. All right, we got a motion on the floor, a second, and then I'm gonna take it to a vote to increase by 10 points on those first top categories. Top four. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carried. All right. Now, let's go down here to densities. Separation. Do you want to do something similar to that? If you do that, I recommend, well, do you want to give straight all the way across the board an increase? Or do you want to go from the bottom up? Basically, we gave more points. We weighted the less dense population, we gave it more points. So the further away, do you want to give the 1250 going that direction more points than the 250?
Yeah, your bottom three, your 750, with what some are suggesting, 500, can definitely be less. But if we're going to go 1250, the gain should be quite a bit greater.
Understand, you're going to start with a minimum anyway. You're already starting at 750 on a KFO, 600 on a CFO, and 400. You're already starting there. So these are added distances.
Additional to that sector of 400.
These are the
Whatever
added
it is.
distances.
What are we talking about? Well, that's getting them back off road by ways. You go 1,250 feet
I would,
plus 600, you're 1,850 off the road. That's a pretty good distance, guys.
What if you took points off on that bottom tier? What if you took where the 40 is, if you took the 10 off of that, 10 off the 500, without adjusting anything up, would that mess the whole system up?
I think that moves us away from where we were, our objective on the 220.
I would not change the top amount for the farthest distance, because the top amount is 120 points. That's already 30% of the score.
Yeah.
So you start messing with that. If you want to increase that, you're going to increase the percentage of the score. I'd leave that the same way it is. Now, if you want to change numbers, change them on the interior allotments. That's not going to change your percentage on the points. But you start changing that top number, that changes the percentage of the points.
You understand that separation is 30% of this.
Yeah.
It's already 30%. So we're still leaving it at 30%. You're just giving more credit to the middle, right, Jim?
Whatever you want to on the middle, you could give more credit to the middle, but don't change that top number.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 251 feet on top of 400, that's 650 feet, that's, to me, that's considerable distance.
Well, what I see happening now as we increase that, we're going to end up with some, I want to call barren land, You could end up with barren areas. You could end up with productive crop fields and stuff that would have barren perimeters around it. And that's my thought process, because I tell you like the scenario with Putnam County. I heard this, they were having a lot of residences coming in out of the city of Indianapolis and coming in, and they had 5-acre lot minimums, as far as to put the houses on. Well, from people coming from Indianapolis that have been buying lots in the suburbs, that was no big deal, so they were just coming in hordes. Well, they said, we'll stop that. So they increased it to 40 acres. So it still didn't stop them. It was cheaper for them to buy the 40 acres in there. But then they had these blocks in there where the weeds were growing up all over the place. They had this immaculate yard in the middle, and then everything went scrub all the way around it. they used to be productive land. So it actually worked against
What they was trying to do.
what they were trying to do.
It's always counterproductive to increase lot size by acreage, always counterproductive.
We're talking about separations here.
So what are you saying?
Well, realistically, this is by weight of 30% in there. And you could give more credit for that, 500 and 750. But understand that you're going to increase, you're going to be taking in more land grants. And maybe that's not so bad. Maybe that makes them purchase a bigger farm than 10 acres. To put a facility. And we heard that discussion too. Buying 10 acres, and putting 3 buildings on it. Where a lot of people don't think that that's right. Irvin, you sell real estate. Is that a common occurrence?
It's not happened yet, but the possibility exists for it.
Well, if it's only 650, you're definitely headed the right direction. And how many points you're going to give for it?
So what would you like to see in that separation, Philip? What kind of points would you like to see put in there? You're the commissioner, and this was one stipulation on setbacks, that 400 wasn't enough.
So this 600 should actually be 400?
Well, 400 for AFO, 600 for CFO, 750 for KFO.
So if you went 15 points, above,
I hate to give more than 30% of the weight. I don't want to really mess with that top figure too much.
These numbers here is 600 is a normal setback, and then they give points for 500 more, or what, that's on top of the 600.
Yes.
So if he does the 1250 on top of 600, he's way back there.
Oh, yeah, he's
That's what I say.
way back.
That's way there, yeah.
these ones you got here, this one is 2136, 1443, and 740 from
Yes.
business
On which farm is that?
On one,
On one?
closest one, you got a 2136 from one house back, you got 1943 on the second. Except for the years, I guess. Well, something, I think. And then on the back side, you're right around 40 feet away from that one, on farm one. So if you went to 500 on, starting at the 500, that one would apply, wouldn't it?
Right, that's why he got 60 points. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why he
60
got
points.
60
I mean,
points.
that's 2,000, so he would fit into that 500 plus the 4, that's 9. If you went to 7,
He's a CFO, so he's 600, and he's 500 feet more, so he got 60 points.
yeah. So, I mean, he's to be rewarded for that distance.
Well, he's
He
gonna
got 60
qualify
points.
anyway, though.
Yeah. But his point wise, well, yeah, but he,
See what I'm saying?
yeah.
If we're, I see you, but I also see what David's saying. People start going 1,250 feet, plus 400, 1,650 feet back off of the property line or wherever it may be. Then you're gonna get what he was talking about as far as, land going out places, where there's
But they're gonna be looking at the roadway going back to it, they're gonna probably look at the waterway going back to it, expensive.
Electric.
gonna compound into it, where there's gonna be a margin there he's not gonna go to because of the overriding expense.
Absolutely correct.
So that's gonna pull him back in probably to the 250 or 500, picking up what points it is. But, personally, and with, let's say he does the odor abatement, they do the homestead, the density, so where's that put him at if he moved to the 250 or 500 in your points?
Number one,
I've got a number run on for you, so.
well, let's go to one that probably the hardest one, that's number 3.
You going to 3
3 is
on
other
AFO?
than being a corporation.
On AFO,
Yeah.
so,
So he's already tight on he's already in a bad density. Okay? In homestead 0, odor abatement 100,
And he still doesn't make it.
he still doesn't make it.
I'm not familiar with this particular farm, so I, you know,
Irvin, you are, aren't you?
Yes.
is that true, is that a deserving score, or do you think that?
There are a lot of residents around that property. Very little wooded acreage on this property, if I recall correctly.
Only one corner.
Yeah, that's correct. Maybe 10 acres.
Yep. I think this is a point of what's happening in the county, because the growth, and you see the population density is in that quadrant where this is at, okay? I mean, that's in a, what is this, Posey,
Franklin,
Franklin?
It is Franklin.
Okay, this is Franklin, that's one that's got the population density. Vernon Township's only growing by 2 people in 10 years. That's it. But you go down these counties, these townships,
Franklin Posey, or Franklin, Polk, Franklin Polk and Pierce are the ones.
And I don't think it's far enough south to be in Polk.
What?
I don't think it's
No, it's
that
not.
far
yeah,
enough
he's
south.
talking about
No,
the different
Yeah,
ones.
that's where the population increase has really been,
Oh,
and that southern border.
If I remember right, in some of that, there was some of those that 10 years had doubled their population in those townships.
Jackson and Pierce,
Indiana land.
yeah. And Indiana Land, they're not buying anything now. They're just developing the existing property they have. Posey Township has actually grown quite a lot in the last few years too.
Okay, all right. So do we want to mess with this part, or do you want to leave it as it is? I think that I hear everybody saying we don't want to give any more weight to this, leaving it at 120. We don't want that 1,250 to be a mechanism to make waste ground, do we?
Look, if you went on that 250 plus the 400, you're talking, that's putting it at 650 away from property.
Yeah. That's
I
how
think more
residents.
emphasis needs to be put on the 250.
So you would like to give maybe an increase?
I would, that would promote it to go a little bit further away.
Well, that's an idea.
There'd be a reason to go to a little bit more than a 250, more than a standard 400.
So would you want to just go in there and
I would raise the 250 to 10 or 50.
to 50? You going to do anything with 500?
I don't see 500 probably being logical, but if you want to raise it 10, put more emphasis on the 250 and 500, I think the 250 is going to make a turning point to help push it way further away from it, which is going to help you on your.
Any other thoughts? We'll make that as a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. You're wanting to change 2 of those?
Change the 250 to 500
50 and 70.
50 and 70.
Okay, that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Jim Day is seconded. It's open for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, one nay. Motion passed. Okay,
And I have a question.
yes, you may.
Is there, I mean, we want to make this as best we can. My question is, and odor is the problem. Nobody wants a house set right on top of their house. And I guess you don't have to, but if there's a Jackson, I'm not seeing, I definitely like to know where it is.
I think we should be addressing the odor abatement strategies level 1, 2, and 3, which deal with dozens of points, scores of points, before we start tweaking the 10-point issues.
But we also have to think, we're supposed to be controlling where things go, not how things are produced. And those are big things that we can control, setbacks, section densities, and things like that. I feel that way, that that's where we really have the most control when it comes to this plan.
But, you know, when we're dealing with 220 points, and somebody can pick up 50 points or 100 points, depending on whether they're dealing with a level 1 strategy or level 2 strategy, those are the things that we really need to nail down before, you know, the 10 points. I don't have a particular aversion to giving somebody a benefit for doing that. That's perfectly well and fine. But I'd really like to see what our odor abatement strategy is going to be, because that's going to be where somebody can really pick up the points and do a lot of big benefit. This just adjusts that a bit, benefit by the extra 10 points.
But the thing we heard the night everybody was here, the biggest controversy was, government's bringing 750 and we don't have, and the 750, the odor is there. The disbursement, the farther away, the less it goes.
Well-
And when you put the 750 psychological, it's going to comply a lot better.
I agree, and I'm not against that, but, you know, whether it's 40 points or 50 points, whether it's 60 points or 70 points, there's going to be somebody in the crowd that doesn't care whether it's 40 points or 50 points. They want to see that thing done away with. You know,
That's one, that's, I think the distance is a lot to a lot of people. I'm strictly with you on the odor abatement.
Well, and I think Al Keever, when he was here with his model in there, and he said if you wanted to try to put a site placement and a model together, and he said an arbitrary number of distance didn't have as much bearing as what wind direction, airflows and that type of stuff. Topography of ground had a larger impact than the 750 to 500 to 400. Because, if you get a wind, if you get a valley type of wind that goes through that's moving in there, and you could be 3 miles away and you pick it up. And that's what, that's where it comes from. But, realistically, that was a very scientific model, in there that had a lot of variables in there. And I don't think Travis would be very comfortable going out there and implementing a formula on somebody sitting up there. Come out here, the wind's still today, you know. But they was using a lot of things from the air. I mean, as far as science that's already there with meteorology.
I'm not against those meek increases on those numbers. I'm not against that. I was just thinking,
I
we
understand.
need to address,
We need to get,
we need to tackle, it's like, to me, it's like whenever a family tries to settle an estate, and you have a little bitty bowl that grandma always served the cereal out of to all the little kids. If they start coming into the house and saying, oh, I want that bowl, I want that bowl, well, I want that bowl, that's little. When it comes to settling up grandma's estate, deal with the 80-acre piece and the 40-acre piece and the 35-acre piece. And then when it comes down to the little bowl, yeah, you could hang on to that. Or, I got the farm, you can have that bowl. Deal with the big stuff. And then the little stuff is a lot easier to...
Of course, separation was 30% of the points. So other abatement's 25, and we spent some time on section density, which was 12. So let's look at other abatement in there and run through criteria. Let's start with dry manure. Dry manure first. Okay? And we're going to leave here at 9. Okay? So 15 minutes. We're going to work on this. Now we're going to quit where we're at 9 o'clock. So I have it in supper, and this is my second long meeting. Yeah, John. I'm not going to go play cards with the senior citizens, though. But anyway, here we go. Give me hard candy. Dry manure.
Filtration right here shows 40 to 50% at a moderate cost.
Is that filtration? Yeah. Give me an example, Scott. What are you talking about filtration?
I don't know, just read it off the sheet. I don't know if that's talking about like a filter strip, you know, say 2 rows of pine trees between little buildings and property.
And would it be good to say that an evergreen type of filter strip?
Yeah, something, yes. That's the way I'm interpreting it. I may be interpreting it wrong.
That's the way I interpret it. Thoughts? Name another one that you would think of, Jeff.
On
Dry manure.
dry manure,
Keep that thought.
Yeah.
Dry manure storage building.
Composting?
Composting, that's what
that's what I
I,
was looking at.
Yeah.
that's what I'd say be another.
Okay.
If you've got a building to keep it in, like, that's expensive to do, but it's very, tremendously helps control.
What about landscaping?
What are you talking about?
Well, isn't that gonna come into
Are
your?
you talking about putting flowers to make it smell
Hey,
good?
I tell you what, sometimes the
Aesthetics.
eye,
Aesthetics.
the aesthetics to the eye, a nice sign out front, a nice place instead of being junked up in front, a little landscaping. To me, well, I'll tell you the truth. We always make the comment with pork producers that a building smelled half as bad. Half as bad. If you could see it, it smelled twice as bad as what it was. If you couldn't see it, or if it had landscaping around it, people kind of overlook some of this other. Now, if you're sitting down on a picnic or grilling and stuff and it's coming across, that's a little different story. You don't care what your sign looks like.
You don't think it smell like roses?
But the reason I say that, I think your landscaping is like a level 2. I really do. It probably doesn't have as much effect as controlling odor or making an impact on it as it does being more appealing, you know, as for a sign. You could say 2, or you could even say 1. Would it be all right to, for note purposes, to say that that may be a second, landscaping would be a second category?
I think certain degrees of landscaping or certain degrees of barriers could fit in all 3.
All right. Well, what would you classify as a barrier then, Jeff?
Well, you could say 2 rows of seed, 2 rows of,
Fine.
yeah, evergreen or the
Conifers?
conifers for 1 level, and you know you can make 4 rows.
40 acre woods would be a different level.
Yeah, yeah, you can put in 50-foot filter strips or 100-foot filter strips. There's degrees that you can do for different points.
So using that as density of conifers and use that as a 1, 2, or 3 stage, saying that 1 row is a 3, you know, 2 rows is a 2,
Yeah.
4.
4 or 5 rows.
Yeah. Be appropriate? Okay.
We need no landscaping, I don't know if that ever gets above 2. The second level, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
there's so much, there's only so much.
There's only so much you can do.
There's only so many
But-
flowers and so many paint on the
Right,
side, right?
exactly.
All right. Understood.
Can someone explain impermeable covers to me?
Impermeable covers, where are you at on, are you on?
Storage.
Storage
I think
practice.
that's for overhead storage for your composting and all that, that's what.
Yes, yes it is. That is a roof on a compost. I would not consider a compost being a compost without a roof, to tell you the truth. I really would.
Composting is,
I mean-
you're thinking of composting on a storage building.
For manure storage and then also for dead birds.
So you wouldn't want to put a unroofed compost on level 3?
No. No, I would not.
For sure.
I'm not even sure that an unroofed compost should count towards anything.
I wouldn't.
All right.
Because to me, an unroofed compost is,
A hazard.
Piling.
yeah, it's a biohazard.
Stockpiling.
Yeah, it's a biohazard. Because,
Not legal.
because if you take it out to the field and stage it out there, if you're out there more than 72 hours, they want you to cover it.
Okay.
So I'd say covered, go back to composting and say it's gonna be covered.
Well, but I see impermeable covers.
Yeah,
Is there such a thing as a permeable cover, or would there ever be a permeable cover on a
Yeah,
compost?
permeable would be like what they use on, out here on highway landscaping, that weeds will grow through, but, or won't grow through, but moisture can get through it. So that would be a permeable cover.
permeable cover, a permeable cover would be basically used maybe for dust control more than anything else. That would be about it. And it wouldn't be very good at that, but that's what I could think of. Okay, what about diet?
Somebody said earlier, if they show the feed records.
I think the diet, could go at least a 2. You know, because not only can you control odor with feed additives, but you can also control insects. And I'm speaking personally here, I know that is, fly issues are a big deal.
Right.
And, I just know one time we left combine door open and that day work, that's bad. Let's go get the flag on.
All right,
Nobody get in.
And a vacuum cleaner.
Nobody get in.
all right. What about the diet? Anybody else? What about 2? 1, 2, 3? Anybody a diet being 2? Okay. Dry manipulation, we talked about barriers, composting. Application practices, we really can't touch that.
Would you say level 1 strategies incorporates all of level 2s, and level 2 strategies would have to incorporate all of 3s or exceed 3s?
On dry manure, it's gonna be pretty difficult to incorporate down in a no-till operation, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, 90% everything's no-till now, so you're not gonna incorporate anything. No way to incorporate dry materials I know of.
Plow,
That's not-
plow it in.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
with no-till now.
No-till operation, you're not going to.
About the closest you're gonna get to that is like gin-tillage or vertical tillage. But that's not a true incorporation. But it is a mechanism to help reduce that. It's probably, that type of mechanism is probably more to keep the runoff than anything.
That's what I got the filter strips for, keep them
Now,
running.
there's still places in the county where that can be done, and it's not a bad thing to do.
We don't
We can-
control that.
We can't control application.
Yeah, so all those application things, we just cross those out. We
Yeah.
can't do anything.
We don't have any control over that. All right. Let's go to liquid manure real quick. We got 4 minutes
Mr. President, I will make a motion that we adjourn
right now.
right now.
All right. He didn't want to get more.
He wants to look at that.
He says that.
I'll second that.
All right, second by Scott. Do appreciate the time on that. I think we're closer here. I would like to,
Mr. President, there's a gentleman here.
yes. Roy, would you like to say something in here? I mean, you've been courteous enough to sit there and listen. There.
I'm just trying to learn a little.
All right, very good. Anything to Max and Rhonda? And then what I would like to do, we got a motion on the floor, next meeting in there, I think as we go through here, we need to try to start putting language in the ordinance, figuring out where we want to put this in the ordinance, and how we want to put our criteria. We've got minimum standards, we need to put that in there in aspect. Most of this stuff that you were working with will deal with definitions and 701, section 701 is where we're looking at. So be thinking about language, how to draft and put this sheet in there and work our language as far as our definition. I'll entertain a second for the dismissal.
Second.
Dave made a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, can stay here.